ask any teacher, scholar, academic from anywhere in the world, there is a strong consensus that critical thinking and creative thinking is at the heart of the learning process and at the root of every big breakthrough. In India, we're faced with many challenges in our education system: crumbling infrastructure, large class sizes, and rigid curriculum. Keeping that in mind, the question that we're asking to kick off our weekly debate is, in Indian schools, do we do enough to encourage creativity? Is critical thinking and creativity part of the learning process or no? To discuss this, we're joined by Kunal and Vijay. Kunal to my left, who believes that creativity is encouraged in Indian schools, and Vijay, who believes otherwise. Kunal, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute on the clock. Why do you believe that creativity is encouraged in Indian schools?
So I'm just going to start off with a little bit of history, saying that, I've got education in 2 different parts of the world. So my formative years were in England, and my fundamental years were in India. So probably from the 6th to the 10th, I was in India. And I mean, the whole different, I didn't see too much of a difference, honestly. Yeah, the British system doesn't give you a lot of fundamentals, but the Indian system does. Every time when I was in school, every year, I know I had to put out at least 6 to 8 different projects based on every subject, be it science, be it art, be it moral science, be it, even in Hindi, I remember making projects and stuff which were based on how creatively you showed them to the class. Yeah. I remember making charts, I remember making structures and all that stuff, which were depicting one certain topic that was given to me or given to the whole class. And that I always felt, pushed you to think about that certain topic in a creative way, in a different form completely than what was generally taught to you in school. And I mean, that's where I feel that Indian education, no matter what, is going to push creativity forward because it's in a limited space. And limited thinking or limited teaching pushes students to be creative in their own manner. And schools are open to that kind of thinking.
Fair enough point. Vijay, your response?
I'm not very sure whether Kunal has graduated or done schooling from a private school or a government school. But you look at the basic infrastructure facilities of the government schools. So you don't even have a basic chairs, tables to sit in the schools. So I don't think, maybe you'll have these projects or chart activities happening in the government schools that you see in India, because there are around 20 to 23 crore students studying, going for school in India. And we have around 14 lakh schools. But the budget allocated from the Indian government is very low to the school education system when compared to the research on the nuclear thing or on any other system. So I feel that there's a lot of infrastructure issues basically to encourage creativity in the colleges, and because since the budget allocated is low for the government schools, so you have less number of faculties or manpower coming in forward. Because since it's a regular syllabus, people don't find it interesting to join schools and be a part of it as a professor or a lecturer.
What is your response to what Kunal was saying, that we're encouraged to, I mean, this is a generalization of course, but that you're encouraged to make lots of charts and diagrams and models. Arts and crafts is also sort of compulsory till a certain class. Do you feel that encourages creativity?
It actually encourages creativity, but I don't see that across all schools in India. Yeah, because most of the schools don't.
What about the majority?
Yes, majority of the schools even don't have the basic facilities like drinking water, toilets, or the transport, or proper accommodation for the students to come and get schooled. So I don't think projects and all, it's just a secondary thing. So I would say even before creativity, poverty is something which is still existing at the school level. Only when you can roll out poverty at the school level is when you can start encouraging creativity. So right now the Indian government is more focused on bringing more students to or people to the colleges or schools than encouraging them to do something new.
So fair point. Kunal, Vijay is sort of saying that we don't have basic infrastructure, so forget about trying to enrich the curriculum and making it less rigorous and encouraging creativity and other such, creative thinking and things like that. What is your response to that? That we don't have the basics, so how can we do creativity?
So, I mean, I feel it comes directly from the teacher itself. I have a friend who is a vice principal in a government school in Pune, and I know she says that the curriculum is exactly the same all over the board in, let's say, Maharashtra, right? So all the schools teach the same thing in the government schools. She takes it on up to her to make that teaching style different and creative for the students.
But do you think that's the case with most teachers? Are they able to do that?
I feel at least the new generation of teachers would be doing that. Because in the end, I know any teacher would get bored teaching whatever they have to teach again and again and again.
Yeah.
So to keep themselves, you know, interested in what they're going to teach, they're going to find creative ways to do it themselves.
Okay.
And I have myself seen in underprivileged schools, children being given the freedom to learn the letters of the Hindi alphabet, you know, and in their own way. Like, so they're taught ka, kha, ga, ga the way it's supposed to be taught, and then they're allowed to write. I mean, I even say that, you know, writing ka, kha, ga, ga, the first line of the Indian alphabet in red, and then next line in green, and next line in yellow, or whichever color that you feel like, is creative in its own way, because it's however you remember it. If you have a photographic memory and you remember red line first, so you remember the alphabets better as well. So even that confined space of, you know, teaching where the syllabus is exactly the same everywhere and you don't have too much to teach and you don't have too many amenities, you're still giving the child the freedom to be creative at that moment on how he wants to learn for himself.
So there's small things you're saying. The
Small
small things
things.
that teachers do to encourage
Creativity. Yeah.
What about those? A lot of people would say that, you know, the Indian education system does a lot of rote learning, sort of ratta, as
Right.
we say. Do you feel that the system just tests our memory power, how much information we can store, and not how we can critically and creatively think?
So, I mean, to a certain extent, the mugging up of stuff has, you know, you need to do it. you
Yeah.
know, I mean, you have
Yeah,
to
for
do it
sure.
for
I
certain
mean-
subjects, and certain subjects you just have to apply your mind and just work around and what you're given.
Yeah. No,
Like-
okay, wait, sorry, I'll sort of rephrase that. I mean, of course, you need to memorize things, whatever you're studying, of course. But do you feel that the Indian education system sort of tests us that whatever information you have, just write it all down?
I
Or are
remember
our
that,
questions
yeah.
analytical, and do they challenge the students in the exam to think differently?
No, so I remember when I was in school, I did a lot of ratta.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they did challenge only my memory. I felt like I was a memory stick, you know, plug me into a computer and I'll give
Yeah,
you the information
absolutely.
that I need.
Yeah.
But I feel now, I mean, let me say, in college, even though I went to a HSE board college, we still had certain questions in biology and in physics that did ask us to apply the knowledge that we have learned. But there were only like 2 or 3 questions.
Okay.
The remaining was everything, whatever you learned in class or in your tuitions, and you just vomit that out on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I'm not for that.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But it has helped me in life. It has helped me
Yes.
in life because when I have to come give speeches and other stuff, I
Yeah.
have to mug up certain points
Yeah.
and stay on track, and then I can go and give those speeches.
Yeah. Okay, so Vijay, Kunal saying we've all done ratta, we've all sort of mugged
Correct.
things up, but
Correct.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. And
Yeah.
that in today's day and age, teachers are now sort of waking up and they are encouraging creativity. That's what you're sort of saying, right? That the new age teachers or teachers these days understand the importance and they're doing enough to encourage creativity.
Yeah, so I would like to confront that, saying that this is something which you can actually see at a private college, because when you look at a government or a government school in tier 2, tier 3 cities, you have more number of people coming in to study. So the aim of the schools is, you know, to make the students first pass or, you know, go to the next level, because the government schools are not aimed at pulling out the best talent of the schools. So
Or the students,
yeah,
okay.
they just want to educate them, give them basic education, make them make sure that they're continuing the education. So as you said, if I put in some more challenging questions, okay, so if I'm failing in a basic schooling level, I would not continue my education further. So government doesn't want to do that. They want to students to, you know, take up the next education also.
Okay.
So if you compare the government and private universities right now, so we have in private universities all the facilities, like you take a projector, or you have an LCD classrooms, you have labs, but you don't see all those facilities at government schools. And it because, you know, because of the lower budget that's allocated by the government. So we can compare the government and private universities like an IPL and a regular cricket match. The regular cricket match will last for 50 hours, and
Yeah.
it's very boring.
Yeah.
That was a traditional thing. And if you see the IPL, since the platform was there where we had stadiums across India available, so that's when people thought creatively and bought an IPL. So that's what I'm trying to say. Only when you have the right platform is when you can actually start thinking about creativity.
Okay.
When you have all the infrastructures in place,
Yeah.
is when you can talk about creativity or encouraging creativity in the schools.
That's a fair point,
Yeah.
very differently put, would not have thought of that. He's saying that, you know, you need to have the basics. And that's only when creative thinking can be taught, if it can be taught. So across the board, there are many schools that don't have that infrastructure, they don't have the facilities for teachers to do that. So even though we are making sort of some broad generalizations, because he's talking about more new age schools, you're talking about government schools, do you believe that infrastructure is the first thing? that you believe that the resources, teachers need to be given the correct amount of resources to encourage creativity? Or is it something that students have anyway? It's sort of inbuilt in them. And even if you don't have the infrastructure, teachers can find ways to make the child more creative.
I totally agree with that. That teachers and students actually work together in tandem, you know, finding ways to be creative. I mean, you can start a classroom under a tree
Yeah.
and you can still have creativity no matter what you're teaching. I mean, that's how old school schools were, like all the way back into the Gurukul system. You were sitting on a tree, they were not being asked to ratta stuff and, you know, just blurt it out later on. They were allowed to think. And I feel no matter what, like wherever you go in this world, the fact that even if you don't have the amenities, I say you less of the amenities you have, more the room for creativity, because you learn to live within those amenities
Yeah.
and make yourself happy.
Okay.
You're not, because if you haven't seen the stuff that's better than what you have, you're not going to feel bad about it. If this is all I have, I'm going to work with this and make this fun for myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so, I mean, that's where I see it. So if teachers are going to make it creative for the students, are going to try and make their teaching style different so that students can learn, students themselves, even if the teacher is not, is still are going to find a way, you know, because it's built in. Everyone is creative to a certain extent. I'm not saying creativity is only like drawing, painting,
Yeah.
art and stuff. It's creativity is all across the board. You can
Yeah.
be creative in whatever you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Your response to that?
Yeah, so
Infrastructure
I would-
doesn't matter.
No,
Creativity
actually
is
it
inbuilt.
matters. Infrastructure actually matters because
Okay.
it actually, you know, widens our imagination skills. Suppose if there was no computer invented till then, today we would have not have a smartphone. Only just because we had a computer, we started looking at, okay, why can't we make it small, or why can't we make it more powerful? That's when, you know, everything started digitalizing. So
Yeah.
you have now a smart refrigerator, you have a smart TV, you have a smartphone, you have a smart car. So there's something called Internet of Things which has come up. So when you don't have facilities in place, you are bound in a box. So you don't look beyond. So as he said,
You don't know what's possible. is what
exactly. Yeah. So you cannot look beyond a limit. So as he said, you know, the regular schools are encouraging drawing on a charts. But I would say when you have proper facilities, I can draw a 3D diagram compared to a 2D diagram.
Yeah.
So that gives me a bigger picture and compared to a chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have equipment in my a lab in my school, I can actually make a prototype of the equipment. So that gives me a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So that improves my analytical skills, thinking skills, and, you know, imaginary skills. That's when, you know, I can start even thinking even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one point. And curriculum is one thing which is also preventing the people from creative thinking, because right now the curriculum is more of an industrial approach compared to an informative approach. Because the syllabus previously was defined in such a way that you read the book, go and work in some place. But now the world has become so complex that when you graduate from a school or a college, you are supposed to find a solution for a problem.
Absolutely.
So that is what is informative approach. That has to be encouraged among the school level.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take closing comments. Kunal,
Um,
wrap up your debate for us.
So, like, I'm just going to talk about one point which he said, which
Yeah.
was, you know, now in today's world that, you know, the whole thing is you read a book and then now you have to solve a problem. That is not even taught even in the States. Like, I'll say that is inherent, that's inbuilt. How you solve a problem is what you've learned on the job. That's why they have on-job training nowadays. So, I mean, I graduated from the University of Montana in America, and I mean, they didn't teach me how to solve problems. I still did a lot of like, reading, and now I have to apply that my own self. They didn't teach me how to apply it. So applying it is being creative, in my opinion.
Okay.
So that's just from that one point that he said. So
Yeah.
to sum it all up, I still feel that creativity is inherent,
Yeah.
and schools promote it in a certain small way. They do their bit
But
to
the onus
enhance
falls
it.
on us.
But it's on us to be creative, I feel.
Okay.
And there's a certain extent that teachers play a part based on how they feel on the creative level as well.
Yes. Vijay, do you agree?
Yeah, so I would again strongly confront that infrastructure and curriculum is a minimum requirement which has to be changed right now. Because if you do a small change in that, we will see people coming. You see a lot of people going from India abroad for higher studies. It's not that they are getting a higher quality of education there, because they get higher facilities. You get more sponsors for your projects. You have network. You have a better network. So once we do a small change in our curriculum and the infrastructure facilities, you see new companies coming to India to change the schooling level, or you just see some hardware startups coming up, building up new technologies for the schools. You see foreign students coming to India to learn, because if you see geographically, India has some of the best climates in the world.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you know, it's not very harsh in the summer or it's very cold, because if you go to US, it's like the temperatures goes to -10, -15 and all, but you don't see those temperatures in India.
Okay.
And in the cost of living also, when it comes to India, is very, very cheap when compared to any other country. So once we set up a proper platform in terms of infrastructure and curriculum,
Yeah.
so India can become a technical hub for education across the world.
Okay, I think that's a good point to end on, because we tend to highlight the problems and not the solutions, which you
Correct.
have done. But thank you very much. This is also one of those debates that's not going to end anytime soon. Everyone has very different opinions and valid points on both sides. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to slip into a short break, but don't go away. We have lots more on the other side.
What do you want from Santa this year? Are you hoping to find your preferred course, college, or dream job in your stocking? Well, I'll teach you how to get what you want. After all, the real Santa lies in all of us, doesn't he? Here's wishing all our viewers a very Merry Christmas.